All right, welcome to this Reel to Reel. I am Tyler.
I am Eric Bracho.
And I'm Wilson.
And today we're watching House, which is not House MD with Hugh Laurie, like
not
Bradshaw
lupus.
was thinking. It's not lupus, you
It's
guys.
not lupus.
It's
not?
what's the feline version of lupus? It's
Can a cat get lupus?
lupin. You know, it's based on.
Yeah, that's wolves.
Yeah,
Felis
it's not felis. It's never felis.
or Felinus? Felinus?
So this is a.
Felonious monk?
I forget my Latin. I'm sorry.
It's a '70s
To my Latin teachers.
Japanese horror film. I chose this movie because we just watched Clue,
Yeah, we did.
and this movie is another creepy house.
This is Japanese Clue.
Japanese Clue. Let's just call it Japanese Clue because it's pretty zany and wild,
Japanese Clue.
and it's good that I'm not gonna introduce this. It's just
Right.
a bonkers movie.
This is like the first one. I
How-
think we have, like, at least me and Wilson have.
No,
Never-
idea. Like we are.
Yeah. The
we're
other ones were
completely
like,
in the dark.
yes, we've seen this. We
we've
have plenty of
heard
to
of
talk
it.
about.
Well, like,
But
it-
this one was just like, it's house.
You're in for a treat.
There's a
guys.
house.
yeah, like for me, Kiss
a
Kiss
cat-
Bang Bang, I was
Oh,
like
yeah.
familiar with the premise of the movie and
Yeah.
with the movie itself, the name, but
Yeah.
I'd never seen it. This, I'm
No idea.
100% in the dark, so I'm just
Coming in fresh.
anticipating what might be
Hot and fresh.
lying ahead. Now, how much, you said it's horror, how much, if it's going to be Japanese Clue, how much horror can we look forward to, and how much of anything besides horror might there be?
There's a lot of. It's a lot of farcical, like comical, kind of zany, wacky stuff. It's horror, not to like in the same vein as other like Korean horror or other Japanese horror, like Takashi Miike kind of films, where it's like gory and buckets of blood.
Yeah.
This has blood in it, but it's not like
It's 70s blood.
it's not super gory, and it's kind of campy. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a fun kind of
So,
horror
okay.
setting.
I'm
Horror, I hardly know her.
You
when
do.
when horror and campy are
You do
said
know
in the
her.
same thought, I immediately think Evil Dead.
You're gonna love this
And
then.
so then, yeah, I think if there's any crossover there, this is going to be fun to experience.
So yeah, I'm just gonna stop meandering it, and we're just gonna watch and see what you guys
House.
think.
Yeah, I think we'll have a lot more to talk about once we've watched this, and
Yeah.
we have
Too
something
much.
to react to. So
All right, let's jump into it.
here we
Woo!
go.
And now, our feature presentation.
What
That was
what do the
the,
kanji say that the Chimmy's spitting out?
I wouldn't know, but that was House.
Holy fuck.
I'm glad you guys got to witness it.
I'm glad I got to witness it too.
Well, witness is a good word for it.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
At a certain point, you kind of do just have to sit back and like disavow yourself from taking any interest in this because it's like there's too much to even. I can't like get invested in the story because there's just so much going on that it's hard to follow the story. You kind of have to just get invested in the spectacle and watch everything unfold in
Yep.
front of you and like.
Yep, you just have to go along for the ride of the wackiness of the house. I mean, it's a cult classic because of that fact. Like it's so bizarre and out there, and it was labeled a horror movie. But did you find anything really scary in there?
No.
The only thing
There's
that
some,
came
there was
close
some,
was
some
his
weird,
stuff. Like
unnerving things.
yeah, the only things that even came close to being scary really was like the head with the well. Like some of the way that
yeah.
was shot was pretty spooky.
Yeah.
And then the piano, and that was actually like going through the process of attacking melody. That was like, oh, okay, this is pretty unsettling.
Spooky doll.
Yeah, the doll,
spooky doll.
but
Yep.
dolls in general.
What'd you guys think about like the effects, like all the
All that over
It was-
animation.
it was
animation
like-
over stuff? Yeah.
It was definitely like Terry Gilliam-ish esque. Like,
yeah, you referenced the Monty Python kind of like
well, especially
stop motion
in
kind
that
of
one
animation.
scene, yeah, where it's like
With Togo.
with Togo like sliding around on the street where he's not moving, but he's like stop motion sliding across the street and things are moving with him and onto him and stuff. And yeah, like animation on top of the finished film. And I know you said that he did painting onto the actual film itself to get some of the effects that he wanted. Like there's from practical to special effects to like no matter, I mean, the matte paintings, the blue screen, and like all that kind of stuff was just it's so cartoony at so many different points. And I think when we started, like you said, campy and horror, and in my mind I thought Evil Dead. This honestly, with some of the imagery and with what happens and some of the themes, it's almost like Twin Peaks in a way. If Twin Peaks had like a campy
Twin Peaks.
if Twin Peaks had a campy, cartoony part to it that was very heavy throughout, this is what that would be like if that was produced in Japan. Because
you have to really pay attention to, like we were talking about, the visual style he was going for. The director like really changed styles throughout, like to kind of convey a certain message. You can kind of tell like he goes all out with transitions and slowing down things and then speeding up things. And
I mean, you can probably pretty confidently say that no two shots in this movie are the same. No two scenes are shot in the same way. Like it's
not consistent.
So different and so varied from second to second that for me it was like a little sensory overload at times, where it was like they would like show 7 or 8 little porcelain cats on a mantle, and they put in sound effects for each individual cat going at different times, so all you heard was just like softly though in the background, and like that kind of sound effects added in for stuff and noises and voices saying things in Japanese, and it was like, wow.
It's sensory overload.
There's a lot happening.
From the first time I saw that cat in this goddamn movie that he was gonna be a little fucker. You just look at the look on his face. You're just like, that dude's gonna be bastard. And he was pretty much the bad guy of the goddamn movie.
Kinda. Like,
well, I mean, he brought them there.
Yeah, like I would almost feel like,
and he definitely was there every time they died.
Well, and he almost instigated it too with his little glowy eyes.
His little fucker eyes.
And the glowy eyes kind of gave something away to me that maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but I got the feeling that the bad guys of this movie were 3 entities, not three characters in this movie who are operating kind of as one
entity,
or
it's
like
an
one
entity that possesses each of them,
or one thing with a goal. Because like at first it was the aunt, and because of the promise that her husband made her or something, like, and they talked about it at the very end of the movie, like the one thing that stays alive is love, and with the thoughts of others in your heart and how you feel about them and blah blah blah. And so her aunt like somehow stayed alive after she should have died because of the promise that her husband made her that he'd come back from the war. The cat was around and
during
somehow became a
time,
part
too.
of that. Yeah, like during that time.
In the 40s.
And then later on, the cat kind of became like a, like you were saying, sort of like a familiar for a witch or something, or maybe like a host for the witch, because beginning of the movie, they were taking the picture with the candles, and Fantasy said like, oh, you look like a witch in that lighting with that thing on your head, and it was similar to the hood that she wears with that wedding getup that we see. And so with the flashing eyes happening in Gorgeous, the cat, and the aunt, it kind of felt like when Gorgeous was brought in, that's when her eyes started going. So maybe, and they said like, any old cat can open a door, but only a witch cat can close a door.
Right.
And so maybe the cat was like a witch cat, because it was all over the fucking place.
It was a little fucker. It was everywhere.
It was on roofs.
The cat
was
basically like the embodiment of the house. Like it was controlled. It controlled the house.
Yeah.
It let all these girls there.
The
and
cat
sitting on that mailbox with the little letter in there, just like, it's time to come get.
Well, if you can tell, before each of the girls died, we're gonna talk about all their deaths, but before they all got their demise, the cat's eyes would twinkle,
Yeah.
and the thing that they were doing at the time would come to life,
Like
or
turn on them, kind of.
yeah, it would just take them out, and it would be kind of in the same context of their character name.
Here's something. We did not see that specific series of events for one character in this movie. Well, one of the main girls.
Mac.
Yep. Because Mac went off on her own, and then she was missing for a long time, and all the characters were like, oh, Mac's missing, Mac's missing. And then when somebody went to look for her, that's when we had the first reveal of, like, true kind of crazy, fucked up horror shit going on. And we didn't get a scene of Mac doing something, the cat enters, its eyes glow, and then whatever she's doing kind of devolves into her dying in some way related
Yeah,
to that.
it was foreshadowed before with going to the Melon Man. The Melon Man had these really awesome prize-looking melons, watermelons that were hanging on a rack, and then Mac picked one up, and she was like, I want this one. And it looked all plump, and then when she took it away, it was the Melon Man's head. That was
Like-
the same shape as a melon.
Yeah, like sort of like in Young Frankenstein, where you're moving down the rows of heads, and then he's just sitting there like. As if he
Igor's
is a
like,
head.
hey,
How you doing?
yeah. But then Mac takes it into the kitchen. She tries to put it in the fridge or freezer, and then the aunt is basically like, no, don't put it in there.
No.
She has,
It's
I think,
out of order.
Yeah, she's like, I'm pretty sure she had other body parts waiting in that fridge. That's why she didn't
yeah.
let anybody put anything in there.
Who knows, man?
But
Well, they
then
opened
she
it up
told her-
later, and it was empty. So
yeah, but
who-
she was eating it. She ate it all before or something.
They showed her eating an ass ton of body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
You'd think there'd be some evidence that anything was in that fridge other than.
So what do you guys think of like before we even get to the house, the segments of like them at school and them talking to their parents and like all that other stuff?
Wholly unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary from my point of view.
Unnecessary to the story, but it does get the viewer used to like visually what's going to be happening to them, like to the viewer. I'm saying, what you're going to be subjected to, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but like it gets you more used to the style of movie you're about to watch, rather than because if we did. You even called it out. Like, there's a small scene that looks like it should be in the 20-second like sitcom intro where they're doing all the Full House stuff, just going through random clips of these people, and like the little faded in faces pop up with their names
Yeah.
next to it,
Sweet.
and like it's crediting the specific girls. And we were like, this should be the beginning of the movie because
Yeah.
they are just now getting to the house, and we're also getting this really weird scene where it's like specifically singling each of them out and showing their name,
Yeah.
and letting us know who they are.
Or even just have the scene where they're outside of their school,
yeah,
sitting around the fountain, and then like they're all doing their particular thing. Like Melody is strumming on the guitar, Professor's like in a book, and then Kung Fu kind of karate chops a volleyball.
there maybe that was like the original beginning of this movie that they shot was like that there, and then they were like, well, we feel like we need to give these people more of their character trait, like show them doing their things, because if we didn't have more of that, then when it comes to them like referring to each other as like, Sweet, go do this, and she's the one who cleans the house, and Melody, do this, and she's the one who plays all the music, like it might not have come across what their specific personality traits were. And so, and they also like went through the trouble of shooting all that in front of the school, and they had
Yep.
good takes of them, you know,
No, they-
playing the guitar.
that was-
Grease.
Kung Fu, like wow, they got a good take on that. They couldn't waste that.
If you notice, they did a crane shot. Like that
Yeah.
was a big production kind of thing. Like
Uh-huh.
they went from top of the fountain, and they actually went down with a crane to them sitting on this long bench, and they were just sitting there, and they did a pan of all of them sitting and kind of introducing little snippets of their personality.
Yeah, and I feel like most other movies or most other people, how they would shoot that would be like kind of similarly, like setting it up in that way, panning down across a big bench and seeing all of them together at once. But then we would lock off into different, like, if there's 6 of them, we would get little twos
Yep,
of people
little
or something.
them
But
interacting.
We got singles, we got like close-ups of people, we got wides with 3 people, we got wides with 2 people. They were just getting coverage all over the place in a bunch of different ways of these girls still just on the same exact bench.
They're basically all shitting on Mac for eating a lot. For the most
Yeah.
part, it was all shitting on Mac.
except for when Kung Fu
Yeah.
deflected the volleyball. I think Gorgeous or Fantasy was like, "Oh, no, it was Sweet."
Sweet.
She's like, "Oh,
probably.
you're so cool, Kung Fu."
Yeah. Like, you're so cool.
This all the stuff that doesn't take place in the house, because it definitely seemed like the same set at the very end when everything was flooding up with blood, and like it seemed like they went through with it and flooded that set somehow, and like so all the stuff outside of probably what was a soundstage or something like it, a very closed off space for the house.
Yeah.
Everything outside of there with the with the matte paintings, it felt like they did as much as they possibly could, and they spent most of their budget there doing those bigger things, like the matte paintings that you see them like when they arrive in the countryside. They basically get off the bus, and it's one of those stereotypical scenes where it's framed with like ground, and you can see a bunch of sky, and it's basically the bus on the bottom right of that frame, and then it pulls away, and they're all standing there at the bus stop, and they talk, and then they move out of frame left, and everything behind them was matte painting. And just how much there was on the screen, that had to be like 40 feet, 50 feet high or something like that. Or that had to be a pretty big matte painting
Go solve
if
30.
it was physically there behind them.
Yep.
And
Or it was either that, or they did some kind of blue screen effect, or
yeah, I was trying to notice, like, because
they could have superimposed another layer, like how they did it. Like they just put two film strips over each other, and one had the like them doing their motion, and the other one is just that
The still image.
a still image.
because you could
just
see at
across
their
the-
Because there's a
feet that it
couple-
was like real terrain, but then anything behind them was the matte.
Because there's a couple like with Gorgeous's dad and new mom, like that scene with that sky. That sky, I'm pretty sure, came back again later in the movie when they're at the aunt's house.
Yeah, for that like kind of twilight hour
Yeah.
looking
When Kung
orange.
Fu is standing there, she's like, "It's a beautiful sunset."
Fucking Kung Fu.
Best
Okay, let's
girl.
talk about girls.
She's the MVP.
Can we list them all?
I probably can.
The Prof.
It's like the Seven Dwarfs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got
There's
Prof,
Kung
Sweet,
Sweet,
Melody,
Melody,
Mac,
Mac, Gorgeous,
Gorgeous, Fantasy,
Fantasy,
and
Kung
Kung
Fu.
Fu. Save the best for last.
Yeah, that's it. And so, yeah, all of them kind of archetypical.
They are what their names are.
Well, yeah, and these aren't nicknames that we are giving them. These are the names that the movie tells us, like, to identify these characters as.
Yeah, they're not given
They're
real
calling
names.
each other these
There's
things.
no other
and,
name.
Yeah, these are what their names are.
And they
I
all
think
do
even
exactly
her dad
that.
calls her Gorgeous.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
so.
weird. It was weird though how like her fake mom, had like a real name, and it wasn't
Yeah,
just like
like Ryoko.
girlfriend or
Yeah.
something or that.
Right.
I think it's Ryoku.
Ryoko.
Yeah.
So the one thing that was said in the movie that I thought might come into play with the mom showing back up at the end.
Yeah, the fake mom.
Yeah, they said something
Which also
about
is just like,
Yeah, why the fuck?
the aunt attracts unmarried young women
young
there.
women.
And at the beginning of the movie, Gorgeous's dad was like, "She's going to be your new mom." So I thought maybe in the interim, during like between when we last see her and then, they might have gotten married. So when she shows up at the house, she wouldn't have been able to be like affected by that stuff, and she would have just seen a normal house and seen. And I almost thought like Gorgeous at the end was just going to be like what Ryoko was seeing and how she was perceiving
Right.
everything.
Yeah, but if you remember from the beginning, she had those flashbacks after she found out that her new mom was going to be her mom, and she was kind of pissed because she liked being the mother type for her dad.
Yeah, she like
help
being there for the
caregiver.
person that her dad like. Yeah.
So then you see at the end, she basically burns new mom Ryoko to cinders, and she's like, "Well, now I get to be my dad's mom or whatever."
now I get to be my dad's mom.
She just likes
She likes
being-
caring for her
She
dad.
likes caring
Yeah.
for her dad, being the person that's
being
like
the
there for
caregiver,
him and that he
caretaker.
relies on and
Yep.
stuff. And
So that was maybe her whole plan the whole time, was to subvert her new mom, and
I think
And then turn Togo into bananas.
I think at the end,
we'll get to Togo eventually.
Gorgeous, like there's no more aunt. The aunt is in Gorgeous. They've kind of merged into one being with that weird scene in the mirror and like
The mirror, yeah.
with Fantasy at the very end, like ripping the shirt, and then she became the aunt. It was like, oh, so they're like one and the same now. So I feel like it's Gorgeous who's like at the wheel, but she's got access to what the aunt could do, and the aunt's in the background there being like, yeah, let's see some fucking young girls.
Yep.
See some watermelon heads.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they both, the aunt and Gorgeous, have the connection to Blanche. When Blanche is running around, you're like,
AKA little fucker.
Hey,
Little
Blanche,
fucker
let me
cat.
get, let me get a little eye shimmer.
And Blanche is, if you can see the cover art, like that's Blanche's
Now
face.
I understand, and that's a really
Blanche-
cool cover
Yeah.
for it.
There's a full red shirt with just that face on it. It's a really sweet shirt.
Also,
I want that.
it's another case of spot on naming because Blanche is a white cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And Blanche was the secret kind of instigator of everything in this movie.
Little fucker.
Blanche was the MacGuffin.
Yeah, you think
Without them even like specifically looking for something or calling it out, fucking Blanche was the MacGuffin. She was there from the beginning to the end, and she was the one who was like, I'm gonna do some
fuck all your
crazy
shit up.
It doesn't
She's
ma-"
fucked
They don't
total
need to-
shit up too
They
right
don't
away.
need to explain anything. It's just like I
Sent him on his wild ride.
Yep.
I think-
because I mean, Togo was walking down the stairs, made him miss the bus because Blanche walked on the stairs and made him trip and fall down. And
Do the
yeah.
Terry Gilliam shit.
Oh
did all
yeah,
that
she
shit.
was kind of influencing that. But then like at the end,
He was bananas.
she didn't make him get lost. She didn't make him go Watermelon Man. I think
Oh,
his
Banana Man.
proximity to the house.
like he missed the bus and he had to find different rides or something like that.
Yeah.
And he had to get through.
Well, he was
Tokyo.
driving his buggy.
Yep, he got to get through the.
He
buggy.
couldn't. Yeah, there were no more buses that day. He had to
Yep.
go to the hospital to get the bucket off his booty.
Mhm.
And
So he took his own car.
yeah, I think at the end, him turning into bananas was just him like
Going bananas? He
being
went
in
crazy.
proximity to the house and kind of being affected by what was happening there, and just being like, you like watermelons? No, I don't like watermelons. What do you like? I like bananas. Banana, 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 banana. And
Yep,
then
he
he
was smacking his
I
head.
think he just went crazy. He went bananas.
Went bananas and
went
literally
bananas.
turned
and
into
then
bananas.
Melon
because-
Man basically turned into a skeleton because
was-
of the powers at the house got switched over to Gorgeous or something, and maybe the Melon Man was kind of the
Under her.
under her spell of
Yeah.
some kind, and then that made him disintegrate.
Oh yeah, he could have had like some sort of connection to the aunt because he seemed implicit in the like
He knew what was
sending the
going on
girls
there.
up there. He knew
It
what
did
was going
the-
on.
the foreshadowing of the watermelon and the head thing.
Yeah.
Yep, he's like,
And then like 20 minutes later, it was like, oh, there's Mac's head.
Not even.
Not
20.
even. It was like 10 minutes.
a fun
5 minutes.
thing in one of these supplements. The director talks about things that frightened him as a kid, and that was the first thing that he remembers
Watermelons?
when he was a kid. That's an actual thing they did, was put watermelons into a well to chill them. But every time he pulled a watermelon up, he thought it was a head, a decapitated head, and it freaked him out. So like that was one
fuck?
thing that he translated to this movie.
That's pretty cool.
Something that's scary.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And then he was a pianist at a young age, so he
It
thought
works.
The
that
piano cover
sometimes
coming down and
yeah,
Yep.
he got
getting your hand.
yeah, he got his
Yeah.
hands kind of chopped off, or he had those nightmares where the piano would eat him because he had to practice so much, and his
Right.
parents were strict or something like that.
Japanese type stuff.
Yeah,
That's really super interesting. And then the watermelon works so well then too with the whole her eating, consuming the thing to become more powerful.
Watermelon Man probably was connected somehow, or like in it, or more implicit than we think. Because at the end, when Togo shows up, he's chomping down on the watermelon too, as he's like, "Oh, they got eaten.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those girls got eaten." So maybe he's like, I don't know. Maybe that eating the watermelon is like drinking the Kool-Aid, or it's
Yeah.
like
It could
because
be. Yeah.
because she was like eating the watermelon and giving it off. That was like to the audience like a sign of like,
Well, and the watermelon shook and had like Mac's like voice or whatever kind of. So it was like it was her head that she was eating. So it was like
and okay, so like the aunt, when they all got there, she was going around. She's like, "Dear chandelier, please shine your light on them," and like turned it on. And then she said something to the stove, and they were talking to
Yeah, deer fridge, deer stove.
She almost looked
very fairy tale witch like.
insulted because I think it was like Mac or somebody that was like, oh, so if you're the dear fridge, is it okay if I put something inside of you there? And she's like, no, it's out of order.
Yeah.
Like she almost seemed like, hey, don't poke fun. Like, you know,
I'm trying to be cute. Don't be a bitch.
not even I'm trying to be cute. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, show some respect. You don't know what you're talking about. This is my dear fridge. You don't talk that way to my dear fridge.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Don't talk to me in my fridge ever again.
so she probably because of her somehow she got witch powers, or she was already a witch. I don't know. She spent so much time in this house, and they were her dear friends because she was waiting for her husband to come back. She was talking about, I'm so lonely. There's nobody here. Like all she had was her stuff in her house. So she
And Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones, yeah.
and
Mr.
Blanche,
Bones
and
was the
that's
real
how-
MVP.
How they got Mr. Bones. I hope we get a
Background of
a
everything.
40-year sequel all about Mr. Bones.
Yeah, that'd be great.
40 years later.
40 years later, what's Mr. Bones up to in that house?
Because he
Yeah.
kind of did just like disappear. The last time we saw him was in one of the scenes in that piano room, and he was
He's
just,
just tweaking out.
"Hey girl, why don't you play me something?"
Yeah.
Like
So let's talk about the deaths.
Okay.
Let's talk about.
death.
Let's talk about.
Kind of Willy Wonka like.
We did talk about, Mac. She became decapitated after Sweet went to go fish her out of the well.
Yep.
Um,
Just watermelon.
and then who was next? Was it?
They kept going back and forth between a couple people.
Well, people were getting spooked,
It was.
so it was
Yeah.
like
So for a second you're like, oh shit,
I think
is
the
Kung
next
Fu
one
gonna
was
happen?
Sweet. It was like Sweet and Melody at the same time a little bit. Where
Yeah.
Melody was like, "I thought the piano bit my finger," and it was just a little injury that she had. But then Sweet like full on died and
Yeah.
like got attacked and then just disappeared, or either got turned into the doll or something.
Yeah, because they didn't have clothes. She didn't have.
She got.
Her clothes were all taken off,
She got.
and the doll that
yeah.
was all
Around the
spoopy
room.
was naked too.
She
Yeah.
got pummeled by a bunch of mattresses.
Yeah.
Because
So
Sweet was
And
really into
pillows.
cleaning up the house
Yeah.
and being the housekeeper, just doing nice things.
yeah, she was sweet. And
Doing
then
nice things.
Melody was next, right?
Yeah, Melody was soon after because it was, they like went back and forth a little bit between Sweet and Melody, and
Yeah.
then when they went back and Melody
Yeah.
like sat down and started playing.
I know Fantasy makes it out last, and then before
Yeah.
that's Professor, and then
Yeah.
Kung Fu.
You were right though, Kung Fu third to last.
I was, dude.
And
Well,
there-
she actually was the actual end. Like she finished the final boss. Like her legs, after she got
Right.
trapped, she got trapped
She
in the,
did, dude.
in the
That was the
lamp.
ultimate fucking boss win.
that was
right
pretty
there.
silly, but
She was getting sucked into a lamp after being electrocuted, and all that was left was her legs. And you hear her iconic.
or her legs came back out.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
the lamp pooped out the legs, and the legs just flew at the cat, flew
Flew
at Blanche's picture on the wall, kicked her square in the mouth, and then just
Yeah.
House
the-
starts filling up with Blanche blood, and
well, after she kicks the
Yeah.
Blanche picture, like the cat ghost comes out of the picture,
Yeah.
kind of at a weird like.
they do a few different like weird flashes with the picture, like tearing apart and stuff, and
Yep.
then an image of the cat like behind that, and then it starts spraying out a bunch of blood, and the
Right.
house fills up.
Yeah,
But
so-
a really great one was Melody getting eaten by the
The
piano.
piano, yeah.
That was a great like effect that they.
And then it was like, oh, my fingers are gone.
She was so calm about it.
Yeah, and then she put her hand back down, and then it took her
The rest of
her
her,
hand,
like,
her
left
left hand, and she was like, "Oh fuck."
That's when she started.
Yeah.
losing it. Yeah, and then it started.
And
then
then
it
it got
made her
into a
eat the rest of
weird
her.
fetish thing for her too. Like you could hear her going like,
She was laughing and like,
Well, then like you saw her like once she started getting eaten, then like the the little top part that pops open.
"Yep,
yeah,
Did you see her coming out of there and shit and getting all tangled up in the shit in there?
yeah, and
Yeah.
then like different body parts are being cut off and like kind of
Yeah.
floating around the piano.
And
Yeah.
then through the door of the keys,
The last-
like her legs were coming at the camera, and
Yeah.
you just see like her almost like an upskirt,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then her little head,
Head pops
pops up
down,
on the side of the
like,
screen, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Ooh, that's naughty."
Oh, isn't that naughty?
Yeah.
And it's her own rear end while she's being maimed and killed in this like really weird
It's
way.
like she's stepping out of the film to tell the
yeah,
audience,
it's like
"This is naughty."
like a
Well, that's
tiny
like
fourth wall
there's a
break, but
couple
it's not
times
even.
too where the aunt does the fourth wall break too and looks at you and is just like, meh.
Yep, she does
I don't
that a lot.
even know. Is there in like instead of trying to actually talk to the audience or do something that is specifically communicating to them, is there a more general like shotgun widespread fourth wall break where it's more talking to the world outside of the Because, like, I don't feel like the aunt was specifically looking at us. I just feel like she was looking outside the movie. And the same thing with Sweet, like, or Melody in that moment. Like, she wasn't talking like, hey, viewer, isn't that a little naughty?
Yeah.
She was just kind of out of the moment and saying it like, kind of like a Greek chorus, where
Yeah.
they're just, like, off to the side,
Right.
and they'll comment, like, to each other outside of the play. They're not commenting, they're not, like, they are addressing the person next to them. They're not talking in like a soliloquy or monologue. They're not coming forward and talking to the audience.
Right.
They're talking to somebody else, but it's still outside of the play.
Right, I
So
get what
that
you
it
mean.
just kind of felt like that, where it was like,
Yeah.
It was
More-
really off-putting at that moment. You're like, wait, what the hell? Why is she just commenting on her own death?
and it was weird that that was how it ended too. Like that entire Melody sequence, that was the end of it, and then we don't see Melody again.
What was Fire Hair? Was that the Fire Girl with hair?
That was gorgeous.
That was gorgeous.
I think that was her, because in the mirror we had seen the weird reflection of maybe her mother, or
It
was
was
it her
her- it was her
aunt?
aunt.
There was her aunt definitely, but maybe her mother was in there too a little
Yeah.
bit. And then the mirror became fire, and then we pull back, and she's like completely made out of fire too. And I think that was representing like the whatever presence of the house and the aunt
Is
and
now
stuff.
within her.
Is now within her, and they're kind of
Yep.
starting to merge into
Like her face was like popping off.
Yeah.
And then all you
Right.
see was her eyes and her lips.
and then it was
Right.
nothing. There
it was
was
just
there was no
fire.
gorgeous left. It was just they're both, and
Yeah.
then it was immediately after that scene where she's going down the stairs, and like there's an overlaid kind of transparency of like gorgeous like a more close up shot, and then we are also following the girls downstairs, and they're like talking to her like
and
in
it's
her-
like 25 or 15 frames a second.
yeah, and they both have like a little bit of a blur effect to them, so it's just and they're not synced together with their motions, so it's very very hey, something's weird. Like
Yeah, like it's almost like what you would envision if you were like high or drunk on screen. It's
if
like
you were extremely
Right.
drunk,
or
yeah.
like you see the trail effect in your
Yeah.
hands. Like that's what it's supposed to convey, maybe.
So the next death then, or after Melody,
was because then it was 3
so then it was
Kung Fu,
Kung Fu.
Fantasy,
And
and,
how did
Prof.
how exactly did Kung Fu die again?
She was doing her Kung Fu all over the room.
She was
Yeah.
fighting
And
everything
then
in the
Prof
room.
said, "Go for the cat." As
Oh,
she
yeah.
started her jump kick across the room, she like got too close to the ceiling light, and like it either sucked her in or she got stuck in it or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
she
she
got
started getting
electrocuted and
electrocuted, and
shit.
then it sucked her
Yeah.
up in the legs.
Yep.
Legs
and
just
then-
popped out.
Prof
The-
was like reading-
Profs was weird.
She was like reading from the Necronomicon, or like
Essentially.
The diary.
It was the aunt's diary, but
Yeah.
it was basically like reading the explanation.
She was
of,
the
like,
lore
what,
finder.
kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And then, as the house started to fill up with blood, she continued trying to read, but then, this to me was funny. The book, like, because everything's
Slapped
flying
her in
around
the
the
face.
room, is like, yeah. And they're all like, all the different objects are being possessed or manipulated, and then the book gets possessed or manipulated and like slaps her in the face and knocks her glasses
Glasses
off.
fall off, and she's looking for him. Like
Yeah,
Velma.
they
Velma
drop into
fell.
all the blood, but
My glasses, I can't see.
I just thought it was funny that she got booked
Yeah.
by an actual
A
book.
book.
Her worst enemy.
And then
Dumped like, hey nerd, boom,
then she goes into the fucking blood water.
and
dissolves
dissolve.
Well, after a lengthy like naked water dance.
Yeah, she's like just swirling in the water for a bit, and then
Yeah.
it kind of just.
I think
she
that
dissolves
was
like Alka-Seltzer.
I think that was just signifying that like, because at first she was like up top, and
Because she
but
comes
was,
back out after she's in there for a minute doing her little shit,
And
and
she's
she
like,
comes out like, oh.
Fantasy.
Yeah, once
And then
she
she
gets
goes
into
back
the
in.
water, I think she's like semi-possessed herself, which
Yeah.
is why she comes back up to like taunt Fantasy a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the house like doing that,
Yeah.
and then it keeps her under, and she
Fantasy.
can't get back up, and then starts to dissolve. That's why I think we saw her in all these different positions. Was it signifying like the water is now all encompassing around her, and she's completely trapped under it and can't? That's what I got from
And
it.
we never
Right.
see Fantasy's fate. We only see Fantasy kind of like call gorgeous mommy
Yeah.
on the stairs.
Yeah.
She
And-
makes it. She makes
And
it
then
to
Gorgeous
gorgeous.
makes the little flashy eyes. which in every other situation someone dies after.
Yeah,
she-
so fantasy probably died within her fantasy of
Yeah.
Mr. Togo or something.
Or
She like just has
maybe
a sleep. She dies in her sleep.
yeah, she just
dreaming.
like is like being like hypnotized to sleep or lulled to sleep like for fantasy because she had a closeness with Gorgeous. Maybe it was like, oh, we'll put this one down before we fuck with her, and like
Yeah.
maybe immediately after it cuts there, Gorgeous just starts like just eating her like right there. Who knows? I couldn't hear that like he could hear that.
I could do that pretty good.
I'm imagining it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you guys think about we'll just get to like the end kind of overall thoughts of it, but
Togo.
the I would say the effects of everything and how will this movie stick with you because of it's so bizarre or
Yep.
like it was
Yep.
was it anything you were thinking it would be?
Nope.
So what are your main thoughts on it?
It was goofier than I thought it was gonna be. Not as spooky as I thought it was gonna be. A lot more boobies than I thought there was gonna be.
Which was weird because they were all
Just because the
Questionable.
young.
Yeah, and the tone of the movie doesn't really suggest that boobies are gonna happen.
It what tone? Like there's so it's
Yeah.
such a weird tone.
Well, yeah. But it's so much like kind of like little with the girls anyway. It's kind of kiddie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like boobies. What?
Exactly. I want that shirt right now.
Boobies. What?
I'm gonna be thinking about this movie for days because I'm still gonna be thinking about what you were just saying. Like, what was the fucking tone of this movie? And like, visually, I
it's a
understood what
it's a
was
spectacle,
happening,
yeah.
but I don't understand why it was happening. Like, why was he specifically doing the things that he chose to do and spend money on doing? What was he trying to communicate? What did it mean a little bit? Like, I'm not trying to get super philosophical with this shit. I'm literally just trying to piece this together as a piece of visual media. Like, I'm gonna have to try and wrap my head around this a little bit, and I'm gonna need a little time between my next viewing, but I know I'm gonna watch this again. This is like my new Dark Souls of movies. I'm gonna try and piece together the lore and
There you
become
go.
like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a solid theory that you can't knock on. Like, I will be able to stand that up, and just give me some time.
My proudest moment still is the prediction of that cat being a little fucker.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, yeah,
Like I said a little while ago, you know, from the fucking get go, it's a little fucker.
Because it did something fucky
Yeah.
right at the beginning.
Well,
did
no, it was
something
just his
fucky.
face. It was just we saw his face.
I would not. This is not a negative about the movie. It is honestly a positive. I would not recommend this to anybody because if you're not gonna sit down and talk about it like this, like specifically watch it to
What the
talk
fuck are you
about it
gonna
like
do?
this,
You gotta watch it with a group, and you gotta just take it all in.
Yeah, you can't just tell somebody like, "Oh, dude, I found this movie House. It's pretty cool. You want to watch it?" Because they're gonna sit down.
It's a
and
movie called House.
After
They're gonna be like,
15
you-
minutes, they're gonna be looking at you, and they're either gonna want to leave or stop the movie. Like,
I mean, you guys gave me that look a few times. You're like,
You
What
no,
the shit?
that was more like,
You're never picking a movie again. It's
I-
like what people would do to you.
yeah, they would question your not only taste in movies, but your like sanity. They might even question your friendship. Like, is this the kind of stuff you like?
Yep.
I didn't think this was who you were as a person.
"Yep, you're the second group of people that I showed this movie to. I showed my sister, her friend, and my wife this film during Halloween. It's like the movie that we watched on Halloween night. I was like, we're gonna watch this. I watched it beforehand, like, and I was like, this is a interesting movie to show people.
Yeah.
So then I showed them, and only my sister's friend was like, holy shit, I'm gonna watch this movie now forever.
Yeah.
She's so into like the quirky, weird kind of style movies. So I'm like, good. It's really campy for her, like, and she'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And every time I see her now, she's like, I watch House so much.
I definitely want to show this to somebody, but I need to get to that point of knowing what I'm talking about before I show it to them, and like being able to explain it a little bit better during the movie.
Yeah,
Because they're
I-
definitely gonna I'm
I
gonna
like
get some
how-
looks, and I'm gonna just be like, all right, just stick with it.
I like how I told you it's kind of like Clue.
Yeah.
Where or it's a bunch of it's a bunch of people that go to a house,
That's literally it.
and they all have like an archetype, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Professor
do,
Plum
yeah,
and like
yeah.
Professor, like in this, like
I'm gonna try and equate so many movies to Clue now. Like it's about people that go someplace. Pineapple Express. It's about people that go someplace.
Yeah,
it's like
310 to
Clue,
Yuma. It's
but
about
with
people
weed.
that go someplace.
yeah. I mean,
It's
it's
like Clue, but
similar.
with trains.
It's similar to Clue in just the fact that they go to a creepy house, weird shit happens, and they all have a role, like a specific role.
It's like 13 Ghosts.
Yeah, it could be like 13 Ghosts
13
too.
dead end. 13 ghosts. 13 dead end drive. Clue.
Clue.
House.
Bag it. Board it.
Check the gate.
I don't know where you're going or what that
Bag
means.
it, board it,
Bag
Throw
it,
it in a log box.
ship it.
We're done.
Seal it. Sign, seal, deliver. I'm House.
Well, that was House. I think that's all we have to say about it.
I think this movie broke
for
me
now.
a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have nightmares about it.
I'm not gonna have nightmares. I'm just gonna probably. It
Should
might,
we just once a year watch this movie again?
Oh, well, we should show more people.
Yeah.
We add another person every time.
It's
Yeah.
like the movie in The Ring. Like now that we've seen it, we have to spread it to somebody.
Yeah.
Sure.
There were 3 people during this viewing,
Except
so we
in
need to
7
have.
days. In 7 days, you might figure out like 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
You don't
Yep.
die. You just maybe.
I
Figure
You just
remember
have like
wanting-
a oh moment.
Oh.
I remember wanting to show this movie to you guys last year
Mhm.
sometime. I was like, we should watch this, and I just wanted to get the group's idea of what we should watch. So
Yeah.
like, I was like, I'll save this for another time. That's why I was kind of anxious to get both you guys to just watch this film, like I think last week or
Yeah,
the
last
beginning
week.
of this week or something like that. It would have been great to
yeah.
show you this film, but I'm glad you guys got to see it now,
Yes.
and you got to witness that situation.
Oh, it's glorious.
And I hope you guys get
Watch
the
it.
chance to watch this film. Watch it any means possible.
I
Greg-
hope that you give some sort of feedback because this is not. I'd like to hear as many thoughts as possible from as many different people because this is not something that is going to have a unified opinion. Like, there's not going to be one general thing that people are going to say about this. Every
Well,
single person.
They might say, "What the fuck."
Past that, I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
not everybody's going to get together and be like, yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it had good pacing. And everybody's going to have something different to say about it, positive or negative, or just what the fuck about it. And I want to hear it.
It's like that generation's Room, maybe, or it was too off the wall, and people
Yeah.
are like, "What the shit am I watching?" And this is now in this country's lexicon as like their weird movie.
This image that's up right now would make a good Misfits t-shirt.
I mean, they
Throw
probably
a skull on the face.
yeah,
You're good.
any T-shirt from this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Just
try.
Or a ghost t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and plant an idea in your heads and in your heads. I just pointed to the 2 people I'm sitting with and to the general you of people listening.
The Catholic you.
No,
Yeah, it's universal. That's what Catholic means.
it's gonna be the next thing we watch.
Okay.
Maybe. It's gonna be fast paced. It's gonna be bright and flashy.
Oh fuck.
It's
Speed Racer? You don't try to
Here
sneak
comes-
fucking
here
Speed Racer
comes
by
the
me,
yes, sir.
motherfucker.
So yeah, we have another sensory overload coming your way.
that all I was thinking about during this is like, we should watch something else next time that we can wrap our minds around, but will still throw a lot at us.
All right, so we'll check you guys in the next installment.
Zoom zoom. Goodbye.